audio on demand from Vision Christian Media.
Exploring faith and the future. Neil Johnson and Bible teacher Dr. Camille Majdali.
We have been immersing ourselves in issues to do with the culture war, the difference between conservatives and progressives, the way they think differently and the way they position themselves on a lot of the issues that we're seeing reported in the news each day. Camille, there are issues here about life and death, and there are different positions for conservatives to progressives. How do you describe those differences?
In this issue, it's relatively simple. Left-leaning progressives have pushed an agenda that includes abortion, and especially abortion on demand, euthanasia, assisted suicide. They package it in all kinds of terms like pro-choice or women's reproductive rights and what have you. But ultimately, it is still the same thing. It's either termination of life at the beginning or termination of life to the infirmed and the elderly. They will couch it in terms of compassion and to alleviate suffering and all this kind of thing. It's very emotive and it's very subjective. But at the end of it, the bottom line is death. Something will die as a result of these actions. Whereas the traditional values conservative is thoroughly pro-life from woe to go, from the womb to the tomb. They want to preserve life and treat it as a sacred thing.
But do conservatives base their value of that life on a science, or do they base that value of life on something that we as Christians would say is coming from something more transcendent, that God gives value?
The answer is both, because there appears to be pretty good evidence that the fetus in the womb has personhood aspects, and that it's a living human being. Just the way it's formed, and some of the photos that are coming out, even just a few weeks old, indicate a life and not just a blob of protoplasm. Yes, it is possibly correct to say that the Bible doesn't talk about when the soul goes into the fetus, but it's also equally correct that the Bible speaks about God knowing us even from before the womb. Or as he said to Jeremiah in Jeremiah chapter 1, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. If that isn't indicative of life, Neil, I'm not sure what is.
Of course, even as a progressive, you could take a real pro-life stance. But Camille, it appears to be that people on the progressive side tend to be swept along into a pro-death stance. Is that something that goes hand in hand with being a part of the progressive ideal?
You would think it wouldn't automatically go hand in hand, but oftentimes it does, because this idea of the woman's right to choose has become a sacred mantra for the left. It is, how should I say, a clarion call. And it has been a very hardly fought battle ever since abortion was legalized across the United States in 1973 with the U.S. Supreme Court's Roe versus Wade ruling. And strangely enough, Roe versus Wade didn't settle the issue, which they viewed at the time as a compromise. If anything, the issue flared up all the more. But the warning was, if we legalize abortion wholesale, then euthanasia will come along. Now, people didn't believe it back then, but boy, it has come back with a vengeance.
Faith and the Future with Neil Johnson and Dr. Camille Majdali from Teach All Nations. Find articles, videos and podcasts from Dr. Camille, plus today's and other episodes of Faith and the Future in the Vision app or at vision.org.au.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.